We fought through the afterlife back into existence. We've suppressed multi-fronted insurrections. We've faced our enemies on land, underground, through time, and in realms far beyond dreaming. We've played alone, we've played with a few friends, we've played with hundreds of strangers. We've crafted, we've explored, we created a guild. We even accidentally became a werewolf. We've done a whole lot, but we can't say we've done everything in The Elder Scrolls Online. But for the sake of this review, we've played through our country's main storyline, and we've completed both the Mages Guild and the Fighters Guild questlines. We've taken our time, we've listened to each NPC, we've read as many stories as we could, we savored the experience. We put dozens of hours into the multiplayer, and our oversimplified assessment of The Elder Scrolls Online is this. The Elder Scrolls Online is a fantastic role-playing game with an engaging story. It's a fantastic multiplayer game with plenty of cooperative and competitive options for different types of players. Those two things combined make it one of the finest MMOs to come out in recent memory, and well worth a monthly subscription price. However, The Elder Scrolls Online also has plenty of setbacks, both technical and design-wise, and it's not a game for everyone. Set about 800 years before the events of The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, The Elder Scrolls Online focuses on Tamriel's conflict with the Daedric prince Molag Bal. The god of corruption and slavery has wormed his way into the Imperial City and overthrown the Empire. Leaderless and at a conflict, three factions begin warring with one another over the right to rule. That's where players come in. After crafting their characters, players find themselves imprisoned by Molag Bal in his realm Cold Harbor, and during a prisoner uprising, they escape with the help of the Prophet. Soulless, players re-enter Tamriel as a citizen of one of the three warring factions. With the Prophet, players attempt to undermine Molag Bal's diabolical schemes, but along the way, they also aid their country in their individual quests to stop the machinations of other Daedric princes as well. We love the stories in The Elder Scrolls Online. While they might not be the deepest tales ever told, we love how they intertwine perfectly from one nation to the next. ESO isn't just steeped in The Elder Scrolls lore, it also expands upon it. The Daedric princes feel more fleshed out, calculating and diabolical than they have ever before. More often than not, each Daedric prince has several multi-tiered questlines that can take place over the greater part of a nation. Elder Scrolls lore enthusiasts will find a lot to love here, not just in the story, but in the dozens of books and scraps of paper that tell the tale of Tamriel's history. And of course, the locations are fully fleshed out. Living, breathing environments from the Alakir deserts, to the snowy hills of Skyrim, to the grasslands outside the Imperial City, to the thick forests of Grotwood. Graphically, the game is stylized wonderfully, while sporting some great water, lighting, and weather effects. And though this doesn't go for the realistic look of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, we found this stylized approach to be a perfect fit for the series, and we wouldn't mind seeing more games in the series done in this approach. Each race has several versions of their own weapons and armor sets. Most locations feel unique and handcrafted, making exploration of the game one of its high points. The main musical theme was written by series longrunner Jeremy Soule, but the rest is composed by Brad Derrick and Rick Schaefer, who do a great job of writing Soule-inspired music. The two have done such a good job that even after dozens of hours of playtime, we still haven't turned off the music, which is pretty rare for an MMO. But on to the gameplay. Players explore the open environment and unlock quests from various citizens to solve the woes, both major and minor, of the land. Players perform their basic attack by left-clicking and blocking by right-clicking. This is done in real time. There's also 5 quick moves or quick spells that can be bound to the hotbar, along with an additional ultimate ability and 1 slot for usable items like potions, food, repair items, and placing siegecraft. Unlike past MMOs, abilities are not time-based, they're skill-based. If your attack takes stamina to perform, you can perform that ability as many times as you like, as quickly as you can, as long as you have the remaining stamina. The same goes for magic spells. You can cast as much as you like, as quickly as you can, as long as you have the magicka. Blocking heavy attacks or interrupting enemy special moves will stun your enemies, leaving them open to a massive counterattack. During the betas, this system felt clunkier, but in this final release we are happy with the results and we've come to love the combat. As far as the classes go, there are no set rules. Healers don't need to wear robes and carry staves. Knights don't need to don on heavy armor and carry a sword and a shield. Archers don't need to be stealthy and only wear leather armor. Players build exactly what they want to play. Experience is gained by what players use, and skill points are spent freely. You want to make a heavy armor-wearing archer that also casts healing spells so you can play in the thick of battle? Do it. Want to create a sorcerer who carries a two-handed sword and spends more time chopping than casting? Do it. The more unique builds are generally more fun and open up to all sorts of gameplay possibilities. The classes in ESO are anything but generic. The crafting is outstanding, but complex at first. Once players get over the initial learning curve, crafting opens players up to some of the best weapons and armors in the game. Players can forge their own gear in most towns, but hidden in the world are some unique crafting stations that create sets granting players statistical bonuses. Of course, players who don't want to craft aren't left too far behind. Enemies drop loot regularly that will ensure most players have gear appropriate to their level. The competitive multiplayer is practically a game all on its own. Set in the titanic map of Cyrodiil, 3 factions battle over control of 21 keeps and their surrounding supply points, 6 Elder Scrolls, and 1 throne. Battles don't just happen at the keeps, though this is likely where they're going to be the largest. They also happen in the fields. The world is so big, there are so many choke points that rogue bands of players can set up ambush points. Death has a longer lasting effect than most multiplayer games as well. There are no resurrection spells to pick up dead teammates. To bring players back to life, you need full Grand Soul Gems, which are quite expensive. The alternative is running back to the fray from an adjacent peaceful keep, or if they're lucky, a nearby temporary spawn camp. Cyrodiil is so big, players may find themselves running for a very long time. Siege weapons can be purchased to deal massive area of effect damage to enemies and structures alike. They are mandatory for destroying walls and doors to gain control of the keeps. If armies are coordinated enough, they can capture one of the coveted Elder Scrolls, thereby granting a nationwide stat bonus for their realm, both in the PvP and the PvE portions of the game. The battles can range from quick, heart-pounding skirmishes, or they can turn into 3-way sieges that can last for hours. The tiny towns within Cyrodiil also have quest givers, just like the player versus environment portion of the game, but anyone from any realm can partake in them at any time. There are also plenty of dungeons to explore in Cyrodiil as well, making accidental battles between alliances the most frenetic of them all, and our favorite too. There is nothing like running into a single enemy player in the kitchen of an NPC's home when you think you're alone, way out in the middle of nowhere. It's an experience unlike anything we've ever had. With all these wonderful things we have to say about the Elder Scrolls Online, you may be wondering, where are the chinks in the armor? For many people, the largest complaint about this game is that it's not an open-world exploration game like many of the single-player Elder Scrolls experiences. Quests will not take you all over the map. Quests are localized by region, and the regions themselves are based on level. This isn't a grab-and-steal-everything fest like the single-player games. In fact, stealing is completely missing from the game, as is murder, the entire Thieves Guild, and the Dark Brotherhood. But truth be told, one of the largest frustrations we have with the Elder Scrolls Online is one of the largest setbacks that all other MMOs suffer from, immersion being broken by other player characters. Spam, gold sellers, teleporting resource harvester bots, and boss farmers all pull you right out of the experience and let you know that you're not actually in another world. Another player or one of his summoned Daedra standing within the king's character while he's talking to you, that's par for the course. Found the dungeon's boss? Expect a dozen people to stand around it waiting for it to spawn again and again and again. While we are on the topic of dungeons, we have to point out that a good number of the open dungeons are simply copied and pasted from one another, which just feels terrible. While the problem has been greatly decreased since the betas, there are still a few quests where the NPCs or bosses, or quest mandatory items, simply will not spawn. Nothing is more frustrating than getting into a storyline, expecting some closure, just to find the arrow on your compass points to blank air. Stability-wise, the game is still going through some growing pains, despite the fact that we were able to log in right away on the very first day, something that's never happened before on an MMO. Server downtimes have appeared frequently at first, and they were down for sizable amounts of time. We adore the simplified and minimalistic user interface, but it might be too simplified for some players. Luckily for those players, there are plenty of easy to install and manage mods already available to download. In the PvP world, most players will choose to play as the Aldmeri Dominion, because it is the realm of the High Elves, the Wood Elves, and the Khajiit, three of the Elder Scrolls fan-favorite races. On most servers, the Daggerfall Covenant and the Ebonheart Pact will have their work cut out for them, but there are a few servers available where AD is not the dominant force. Grouping with friends can be troublesome. Sharing quests with one another is easy, but completing quest objectives, aside from killing beasts, is often not shared. The game will also randomly drop the group leadership, which will force groups to degroup and form again if they want to add a new player. And of course, as with most multiplayer games, there are still some skills that need to be balanced. While that might seem like a gigantic amount of problems for one game to have, that's also what we found after over 150 hours of enjoyment. There is plenty of endgame content. Players get the chance to explore all three Alliance territories and enjoy their quests with just one character. The battle over the control of the Empire and the Elder Scrolls is a continuous and addictive struggle. The Elder Scrolls Online is not perfect, but we love it anyway. From the gorgeous environments, to the engaging story, to the unique character builds, to the fantastic competitive multiplayer, we're hooked, and we will be for a long time.